The night I joked about her moving in, the rain was so loud it felt like the whole street was underwater. I was standing at the open door of my garage, a mug of black coffee in my hands, watching the water pour off the edge of the roof in a steady sheet. The smell of wet asphalt and sawdust mixed in the air. Behind me, my tools hung in perfect rows on the wall. My workbench was clean. Every clamp and chisel had its place. My life made sense when things were in order. Next door, everything was falling apart. Cardboard scraped over the wet driveway. A box slipped and hit the ground with a dull thud. I heard that small, tight sound people make when they are trying not to cry. When I looked over, I saw my neighbor, Magnolia Ruiz, fighting with a soaked moving box and losing. Magnolia was 36, sharp and confident on normal days. She walked like she knew where she was going and nobody else did. Tonight, she looked smaller. Not weak, just tired in a way that went deep. Her dark hair was plastered to her neck. A thin white tank top clung to her skin under the rain. She was trying to shove a heavy box into the back of a hatchback that was already packed full. The trunk would not close. She slammed it once, twice. It bounced open again. She put her shoulder against it, breathing hard, rain running down her face. She did not bother to wipe it away. I could not tell where the water ended and her tears started. I told myself to go back inside. I like quiet. I like routines. I build custom furniture in my garage because wood is simple. You measure, you cut, you sand, and if something does not fit, you know exactly why. People are not like that. Magnolia hit the trunk again. The box shifted. I saw the corner sag. I pictured wet paperbacks and ruined clothes. Before I knew it, I stepped out into the rain. "You're going to ruin those books," I called out. She spun around fast, like every muscle in her body expected a new attack. When she saw me, her eyes narrowed. "River," she said, my name flat like a slammed door. "Go inside." "I don't need an audience." "I'm not an audience," I said. "I'm a neighbor with a tarp." I did not wait for her permission. I went back into my shop, grabbed the heavy canvas cloth I used when I stained tables, and came back out. The rain smacked against it as I threw it over the open trunk and tucked in the edges. She watched me, jaw tight, arms crossed over her chest. "Did Barry kick you out?" I asked. Her gaze slid toward the porch like she did not want to look at it too long. All of her things were piled there. Boxes, a suitcase, a crooked lamp, a laundry basket. Plastic bags stuffed with clothes like someone had scooped up her life with both hands and dumped it. "He gave me 3 days," she said. Her voice shook with anger. "Says he's renovating so he can double the rent." "He can't do that," I said. "Legally, maybe not." She gave a short, bitter smile. "But he changed the locks while I was at the store. So here we are." 3 days isn't enough to find a new place," I said. "No kidding," she replied. She swallowed hard, eyes flicking down the street and back again, like she was checking to make sure he was not watching. "Where are you going to go?" I asked. "A motel," she said. "I'll figure the rest out later." "With all this?" I nodded toward the boxes. "You'll be paying for storage by midnight." Her fingers dug into the soggy cardboard. "I don't have a choice, River." I should have shut up. I should have told her I hoped it worked out and gone back to my quiet house with my neat rows of tools and my empty extra unit. Instead, the words came out of my mouth before I could grab them. "You could move in with me," I said. I tried to make my voice light. "I've got dry floors and too much square footage." She went absolutely still. The rain dripped off the tip of her nose. Her eyes searched my face like she was looking for the punchline. "Ah," she said. There was no laugh in it. "Good night, River." She climbed into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and pulled away from the curb. The red glow of her taillights disappeared into the rain. I stood there holding the tarp, feeling like an idiot. I had thrown out a life raft like a joke, and when she did not grab it, I did not know if I was relieved or disappointed. When I finally went back inside, the house felt wrong. It was too quiet. The silence did not feel peaceful. It felt heavy, like it was sitting on my chest. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the world still smelled like wet pavement and storm clouds. I was in the shop running a piece of walnut through the planer. The machine whined, the wood shavings curled, and for a few minutes I forgot about everything except the board in my hands. Then, someone knocked on the side door. 3 short knocks. Precise, no hesitation. I shut off the planer. The sudden quiet rang in my ears. Magnolia stood in the doorway, wearing a tan trench coat over yesterday's clothes. Her hair was pulled back, but I could see the tired lines under her eyes. She gripped a travel mug like it was the only warm thing in her life. Her fingers shook just enough to make the lid rattle. "Morning," I said, wiping my hands on a rag. She did not bother with small talk. "Was that a joke?" she asked. I blinked. "Was what a joke?" She held my eyes, unblinking. "Move in with me," she repeated softly. Was that a joke or an offer? My brain started listing all the reasons this was a bad idea: complication, risk, routines blown up, feelings getting in the way of work, having someone in my space, in my quiet, in my systems. But she stood there anyway, chin lifted, like she would rather break than beg. "The guest unit is empty," I said slowly. "Right now it's storage, lumber, cans of finish. It's not exactly a hotel." "I don't need a hotel," she said. Her voice was steadier now. "I need a door that locks and a landlord who isn't Barry." "I charge rent," I said, because I wanted her to know this was not charity. "I pay rent," she shot back. "Half of what the market is," I said, "and you cook 3 nights a week." Her eyebrows lifted. "Excuse me?" "I eat takeout over the sink," I admitted. "It's depressing. I smell real food coming from your place all the time." "That's the deal." For the first time since I had seen her in the rain, something gentle moved over her face. Not a full smile. Just a small twitch at the corner of her mouth, like hope was testing the air. "Deal," she said. By noon, her life was in my living room. By late afternoon, I realized my joke was no longer a joke. It was real. She was here. And nothing about my quiet, ordered life was going to stay the same. Moving day hit faster than I expected. Around 10 in the morning, a black pickup rolled into my driveway like it had been doing this all its life. The bed was piled high with boxes, bags, a laundry basket, a folded comforter, and a pink pillow that looked like it had wandered into the wrong neighborhood. Magnolia climbed down from the passenger side. The sun caught in her hair, turning the mess of the last few days into something softer. She walked toward me with a heavy box in her arms. On top sat a small potted plant with shaky green leaves and a little table lamp with a crooked shade. "You weren't kidding," I said. "I wasn't," she answered. Her smile was tired but stubborn. "And I don't want pity. I want a plan." That was my language. Plans. Systems. Steps. "Okay," I said. "Then we do this right." I took the box from her and set it on my porch. My body had already chosen a side. I went back to the truck and started unloading. Kitchen stuff in one place, office stuff in another, clothes in another. I grabbed a plastic bin and started putting anything with her name on it inside. Envelopes, folders, old leases, letters. She watched me with a little frown. "Why are you sorting like that?" "If Barry tries anything else," I said, "we need your important papers, easy to find. Lease, ID, work stuff. No hunting in the middle of a crisis." Her eyes sharpened like she was seeing me in a new way. "You think he'll try something tonight?" "I think Barry likes trouble," I said. "I just don't want you surprised." Right on cue, a screen door next door slammed so hard it rattled. Barry stomped onto his porch, face already red, eyes locked on the truck and the boxes in my driveway. "Hey," he shouted, "you can't dump her junk over there. This is private property." I did not stop moving. I walked back to the truck, picked up another box, carried it to my porch, set it down, and then turned to face him. "Her things were on your porch after you changed the locks," I said. My voice was calm. "That's the real problem." Barry jabbed a finger at me. "You think you're some hero, Campbell? She'll leave and you'll still be stuck living next to me." I slid my phone from my pocket and started recording. No shaking, no yelling, just a steady shot of him on his porch. "Say that again," I said. He froze for half a second. Then his pride got louder than his brain. "She's a problem tenant," he yelled. "And you've got an illegal wood shop back there. One call to the city and they shut you down." "I already have permits," I said. "But thanks for putting that on record." Magnolia stepped up beside me. Not behind me, beside me. Her shoulders were tight, but she did not back down. "Touch my things again," she said, voice cold and clear. "Change another lock without notice, and I file for an emergency order. I have photos, I have the texts. Try me." Barry's eyes flicked from her to my phone. He spit into the grass and stomped back inside, slamming his door like a kid. When he was gone, Magnolia let out a slow breath, like she had been holding it in her ribs the whole time. "You record everything," she said. "I build furniture," I answered, "but I also document people like him." She looked at my hands, the sawdust under my nails, the calm I was trying hard to keep. "River," she said, and this time it sounded different. There was real respect in it. "Thank you." I did not say it was nothing. I just carried the next box, because working is how I keep my own panic from sitting down at the table. By late afternoon, the guest unit looked like a human actually lived there. Boxes stacked against the wall, her plant on the window ledge, that pink pillow sitting on the bed like a loud idea. The first collision was not some sweet romantic thing. It was about a bed. I came in from the shop around 6, covered in sawdust and glue. The door between my side of the house and the guest unit was open. Magnolia stood in the middle of the room, hands on her hips, scowling at the metal bed frame. "It squeaks," she said. "It works," I answered, grabbing a bottle of water from my fridge. "If I roll over, it sounds like a train crash," she said. "I have a client call with Tokyo at 4 in the morning next week. I cannot have this thing screaming in the background." I looked at the frame. Cheap metal, loose bolts, bad design. The part of me that hates weak joints woke up. "Move," I said. She stepped aside. I went to the garage and came back with a drill, a socket wrench, and a small bottle of graphite. I dropped to my knees and started tightening every bolt, bracing the legs, adding lubricant where metal rubbed metal. Magnolia stood close, watching me work. She smelled like vanilla and old books. It did not belong in my shop brain, but it got in there anyway. "Try it," I said when I finished. She sat on the bed and bounced once. Silence. She bounced again, still quiet. Her eyes lifted to mine, softer now. "You're handy," she said. "I build furniture," I told her. "It would be pretty bad if I couldn't fix a bed." She let out a small, real laugh. "Most guys would tell me to just deal with it." Quote, "I don't like noise," I said, "and I don't want to hear you rolling around at 4 in the morning." The words came out wrong, heavier than I meant. Her gaze dipped to my mouth for a quick second, then back to my eyes. Something unspoken hung there before she cleared her throat. "Right," she said. "Because of the call." "Right," I said. I went back to my side of the house with my heartbeat hitting harder than a hammer on a nail. 3 days later, I found her in my kitchen. Not the tiny guest unit kitchen, my main one. Granite island, good knives, the stove I actually cared about. She had taken over the counter with neat piles of ingredients. Limes, cilantro, chopped onions, a pan heating on the stove. "Boundary violation," I said, leaning in the doorway. "The stove in my side barely boils water," she replied. She did not look up. Her knife moved fast and clean over the cutting board. "And you said I cook." "I said simple stuff," I answered. "This looks like an event." "It's tacos, River. Sit down." I sat, of course I did. She worked in focused silence for a moment. Oversized reading glasses slid down her nose over, and each time she pushed them back with her wrist, something in my chest tugged tight. "Barry came by today," she said suddenly. My jaw clenched. "What did he want?" "He stood on the sidewalk and yelled," she said. "Asked if I had a lease with you. Said if I pay rent, you need some permit for this place. Zoning, rental license. Whatever word he thought sounded scary." "He mentioned my shop," I said. "It was not a question." "Yeah," she nodded. "Said if the city looks at your tenant situation, they might look at the sawdust too." My chair scraped back as I stood up. The shop was not a hobby, it was my whole life. I had my permits, but the idea of some bored inspector showing up with a clipboard and a reason to shut me down made my stomach twist. "Don't talk to him," I said. I didn't. He shouted from the sidewalk. She said. She set a plate in front of me. "If me being here puts your shop at risk, I can go to a motel." "No." The word came out faster and harder than I meant. It landed between us like a solid block. She studied my face, eyes searching for something. "Why?" she asked softly. "You barely know me." "Because he is a bully," I said. My fist tightened around the edge of the counter. "And I do not let bullies win. You stay. I will deal with him." "I can handle myself," she said. There was pride in her voice, and no fear. "I know you can," I said. "That might be the scariest part." Her mouth curved into a small, real smile. The air in the kitchen shifted, warmer than the steam from the pan. "Eat," she said. I took a bite. The tacos were good. Too good. They tasted like something I could get used to. The problem was, I already knew getting used to Magnolia was going to be the most dangerous part of this whole thing. And I had no idea how much more dangerous it was about to get. 2 weeks later, it almost felt normal having her there. We slipped into a rhythm without talking about it. I woke up at 5. By 5:15, I heard her coffee grinder through the thin wall. We crossed paths in the hallway on the way to the laundry room. Some mornings we only traded a nod. Other mornings I got a quiet, "Morning, River," and the hint of a smile that stayed with me all day. I worked in the shop, she worked in the guest unit with her laptop and phone. At night, sometimes we ended up in the same room without planning it. Her on the couch with her computer balanced on her knees, me at the table fixing a loose drawer or oiling a cutting board, the TV off. Just the sound of typing and tools and two people who had not been alone all day, even though neither of us said that out loud. One Tuesday, the sky opened up again. The rain came down in sheets, hammering on the roof so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I was in the shop fighting with a table glue up. The glue was setting too fast. I had one corner clamped, the other 3 sliding out of square. My heart rate climbed with the clock in my head. "Come on," I muttered, wrestling one of the clamps. A hand landed on the far corner of the table, steady and sure. Magnolia stood in the open doorway, sleeves rolled up, hair pulled into a loose knot. She had thrown on one of my old flannel shirts over leggings. It hung off her shoulders like it had always belonged there. "You look like a man losing a fight," she said. "Just in a race with the glue," I answered. "Can you hold that edge in tight while I line up this side?" She stepped in without asking for instructions. She pushed the board in, then reached for another clamp and matched my movements after watching me once. We moved in sync, shoulder to shoulder, hands close. Her fingers brushed mine as she slid the clamp into place. My pulse jumped. We tightened the last one and stepped back. The table frame stayed square. Glue squeezed out in a clean line. It was a good joint. She smiled, small and satisfied. "You win," she said. I corrected. There was sawdust in her hair, tiny flecks that caught the light. I wanted to reach out and brush them away. My hand twitched, but I shoved it in my pocket instead. "You are dangerous in a lumberjack shirt," she said. "I thought this was just a flannel," I said. "Same thing," she said. Her eyes held mine a little too long. "You do good work, River." "You are not bad with a clamp," I said. She laughed under her breath and stepped back, breaking the spell. Later that night, I walked past the guest unit and saw her hunched over a wobbly card table. Her laptop was open, blue light washing over her tired face. She was rubbing her temples between emails, shoulders tight. I stood in the doorway for a second, then turned around and went back to the shop. On the rack sat a live-edge maple slab I had been saving for some future project. Someday, when I had time, I guess someday was now, I sanded the slab until it felt like glass. I cut and attached simple black metal legs. I oiled the wood until the grain came alive. When I was done, the card table in my head looked like an insult. Just before sunrise, I carried the new desk into her unit, set it where the card table had been, and dragged the old table out. When she woke up, it would be there waiting. That evening, when I came inside covered in dust, there was a small piece of paper resting against my coffee maker. No words. Just a simple heart drawn in ink, careful and neat. I taped it to the fridge. It looked ridiculous there, between a pizza coupon and a tape measure magnet. I did not care. For a few days, things felt almost easy. Then the doorbell rang on Friday. We were in the kitchen, standing on opposite sides of the island. Magnolia was telling me about a client who wanted a brand design that felt like a dolphin sound. And I was laughing so hard I almost dropped my beer. The bell cut right through that. A man in a city jacket stood on my porch holding a stiff white envelope on a clipboard. "River Campbell?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "Sign here." I signed and closed the door. Magnolia watched me open the envelope. The paper inside was heavy, official. My stomach got tight before I even read a word. City Zoning Department. Notice of violation. Operating a commercial manufacturing operation in a residential zone without proper variance. Cease all shop activity within 48 hours pending inspection. The words blurred for a second. My shop, my orders, my mortgage. All tied to some box checked wrong on a form and a neighbor with a grudge. Magnolia stepped closer to read over my shoulder. I felt her breath near my cheek. "This is because of me," she said quietly. "Barry saw me move in. He saw the truck. He is using it to go after you." "It does not matter why," I said, but my voice came out rough. "If I shut down, I lose work. If I lose work, I miss payments. This place is all I have." "I can fix this," she said quickly. "I can pack a bag. I can go tell him I moved out." Maybe he backs off. "That will not stop an inspection," I snapped. "Once the city is involved, it does not matter where you sleep." She flinched like I had slammed a door in her face. I saw it and hated myself for it right away. I put the notice down and rubbed my hand over my face. "I am sorry," I said. "I am just, this shop is everything." "I know," she said softly. When I looked at her, there was no blame in her eyes, only understanding. She knew what it felt like to have someone threaten the ground under your feet. For a long moment, we just stood there in the kitchen, two people, with nowhere to put the fear. Then she lifted her chin. "What is your plan?" she asked. I flipped the notice over, scanning the contact line, the codes, the signatures. My brain shifted into build mode. Measure, cut, fit. "We fight it," I said. "We prove I am within code. We show every permit, every rule. We do it clean." She watched me, steady, waiting for the part where I pushed her out again. I did not. I stepped closer instead. My hand found her waist. I moved slowly, giving her time to step back if she wanted. She did not. She set her hands on my chest, fingers curling into my shirt like she was holding on during a storm. For weeks, I had kept a line between us in my head. Tenant, landlord. Neighbor, problem. Right then, that line broke. I leaned in and kissed her. She did not hesitate. She met me with all the heat and fight I had seen in her since the first night in the rain. Her hands slid up to the back of my neck. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. When I finally pulled back, our foreheads rested together. I could feel her breath on my lips, warm and shaking just a little. "Stay," I said. My voice sounded rough even to me. "Do not run to some motel. Do not go back next door. Stay. We handle this together." Her fingers tightened at my neck. Her eyes were dark and clear. "Okay," she whispered. "I stay." The notice on the counter was still a problem. Barry was still a threat. The inspection was still coming. But for the first time since I built that shop, the idea of fighting did not feel like something I had to do alone. I thought "we fight it" meant phone calls and forms. Magnolia had a different idea. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of fast typing. Her door was cracked open. I walked down the hall and stopped. She was at the new maple desk I built her, laptop open, hair in a messy knot, glasses on, still wearing one of my flannels over a white tank top. Her eyes were sharp and focused, not scared. On the screen, I saw county records, zoning rules, business license pages. She clicked between them like this was her battlefield. "You have been up long?" I asked. She did not look away from the screen. "Since 4. I used to do this kind of research for clients who had trouble with landlords and permits. Turns out it is useful for the man who fixed my bed." "You do not have to fix this for me," I said. She finally looked up. "I am not fixing it for you," she said plainly. "I am fixing it for us." That word hit somewhere deep. While she hunted through codes and contracts, I did the only thing I knew how to do. I built defenses. I pulled every permit and insurance paper from my safe and put them in a folder. I added the video of Barry yelling on the porch, screenshots of his texts, photos of her stuff on his steps in the rain. Then I drove to a copy shop and made hard copies. On the way back, I stopped at the hardware store and bought motion lights, 2 security cameras, and a heavy lock for the side gate. By midnight, the side yard was bright as a runway. One camera watched the driveway, the other watched the shop door. The new lock on the gate closed with a sharp click that settled something in my chest. When I came inside, Magnolia was at the kitchen table with her laptop. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her jaw was set. She looked out the window at the new lights and then back at me. "You put those up?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "And cameras. And a lock on the gate." "You did not have to," she said softly. "I am not doing it because I am scared," I said. I set the folder of papers on the table. "I am doing it because no one gets to threaten what is mine. My shop, this house, your peace." She held my eyes for a long beat. Then she nodded once. "Then we fight like adults," she said. The city inspection was set for Tuesday at 8 in the morning. Tuesday came too bright and too calm. The rain had finally stopped. The street was wet and clean. My stomach felt like it was full of nails. A gray city car pulled up to the curb. A man in a windbreaker with a clipboard got out. His face was blank, the kind of blank that said he had heard every story and excuse before. Barry was already standing on the sidewalk when the inspector walked up the drive. He had his arms crossed, a smug little smile on his face. "Mr. Campbell," the inspector said, "we had a complaint about a commercial shop on residential property." "I have permits," I said. My voice was steady. "I build furniture by appointment. No store. No walk-in sales." Barry jumped in. "He is running a full business back there," he said loudly. "Trucks, deliveries, saws yelling all day, and he has a tenant now. This is a multi-unit rental. He needs a different permit for that too." The inspector's pen hovered over his form. Before he could write anything down, the front door opened. Magnolia walked out like she had stepped into a meeting she owned. No trench coat today. She wore dark jeans, a fitted blazer, and a simple white top. Her hair was pinned back. Tiny silver earrings flashed at her ears. She looked less like a tenant and more like a lawyer. "Good morning," she said to the inspector. "I am Magnolia Ruiz." He nodded. "And you are?" "I live here," she said, standing beside me. Not behind me, beside me. "I also work as an interior designer. I hire Mr. Campbell as a custom fabricator for my clients." Quote. She handed the inspector a folder, slimmer than mine, but neat. "In here is my business license," she said. "An agreement with him for custom work, and a summary of your home shop rules. No sign, no walk-in traffic, noise within limits. He meets every one of them." The inspector flipped through the papers. His eyes moved slower this time. Barry opened his mouth to speak again, but Magnolia was not done. "As for the rental part," she said, "this is a legal duplex. There is a main unit and a guest unit. We have a written lease between us. Co-living is allowed under the code." Barry laughed once, sharp. "She lived in my place," he said. "She is lying. I changed the locks because she was a problem." I told the owner that. Magnolia's face did not move. She took out her phone and tapped a name. A woman's voice answered on speaker, calm, older, tired of this. "This is Mrs. Henderson," the voice said. "Who is calling?" Quote. "Good morning, ma'am," Magnolia said. You are on speaker with the city inspector, your former property manager, Barry Collins, and your former tenant, me. Silence. Then, sharper, of course he is there. The inspector cleared his throat. Ma'am, I am with the city zoning department. We received a complaint from Mr. Collins. Inspector, Mrs. Henderson said, Barry Collins is a contracted manager. I own the house he oversees. I have reviewed the photos and emails from Ms. Ruiz. He changed locks without notice and placed her things outside. As of this morning, his contract is terminated. Barry's face went from red to gray. You cannot do that, he snapped. I have been managing your place for 3 years. I have the paperwork, she said. I also have his text messages. If he steps on my property again, I will file charges. Any questions you have about ownership, I will email you proof within the hour. The inspector looked from the phone to Barry to me. Then he nodded. Thank you, ma'am, he said. That will be enough for my file. Magnolia ended the call. The silence that followed was heavy, but it did not feel scary. It felt like balance returning. The inspector went through my shop, checked my outlets, my dust collection, my exits. He saw the permits on the wall, glanced back at the papers Magnolia gave him, and sighed. Looks like you're within the rules, he said finally. No sign, no front door sales. Someone did not like the noise and tried to use us as a hammer. I will mark this as compliant and close the complaint once I get the email from the owner. He shook my hand and left. Barry stayed on the sidewalk for a second, looking like a man who had just watched his last card burn. Magnolia did not even look at him. She took my hand, right there in the driveway, squeezed once, then led me back inside. The door closed behind us with a quiet click. 2 days later, the rain came back. Not hard this time. Just a soft, steady sound on the roof that used to put me to sleep. I was in the kitchen making coffee. 2 mugs. One for me. One I now poured on autopilot for her. It felt normal. She walked in, hair damp from a shower, wearing leggings and my gray t-shirt from the laundry basket. She held a piece of paper in her hand. I turned down an offer, she said. My stomach clenched. What offer? Mrs. Henderson called, she said. She offered me my old place back. Same rent as before. A formal apology. She laid the paper on the counter. I said no. That is what you wanted at first, I said. My voice was careful. It was what I wanted before you stood in the rain with a tarp, she said. Before you let my life explode in your living room. Before we fought a bully in your driveway. She pushed the paper toward me. It was a new lease. Not for the guest unit. For the whole house. 2 names on the top line. Co-tenants, River Campbell and Magnolia Ruiz. I do not want to be your tenant, she said quietly. I do not want you to be my landlord. I want to be your partner. On the lease, on the bills, on the choices. If you want that too. For a second, the only sound in the room was the rain and my own heartbeat. I picked up the pen lying on the counter. My hand hovered over the line with my name. For years, I had kept my life simple on purpose. No roommates, no live-in girlfriend, no one sharing my walls, no one touching the systems I built. It was how I stayed safe. But I thought about her first night in the rain, about her standing beside me in front of the inspector, about the heart on my fridge and the way my shop felt less empty when I heard her keyboard through the wall. The fear did not go away. It just moved aside a little. I signed. The last stroke of my name felt like driving a nail all the way into solid wood. Final. Strong. Magnolia let out a breath I did not know she had been holding. She slid the paper back, checked my signature, then looked up at me. So, she said softly, that first night, when you said I could move in, was that really a joke, or was it an offer? I stepped around the island until I stood right in front of her. I took the page from her hand and set it aside. Then I put my hands on her waist and pulled her in until we were chest to chest. It was a bad joke and a scared offer, I said. This is the real one. Her smile started small, then grew, blooming into something bright and sure. She wrapped her arms around my neck and leaned in. Then I accept, she said. I kissed her. This time there was no storm outside, no panic in my chest, no clock ticking down. Just us. Her fingers in my hair, my hands on her back. The steady sound of rain on the roof and the quiet promise of 4 walls we now shared on purpose. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. "Guess I really did move in," she said. "Yeah," I answered. "Next time I joke like that, remind me it might turn into a lease." She laughed warm and low and pressed one more soft kiss to my mouth. Outside, the rain kept falling on the street, on the old porch next door, on the tin roof above my shop. Inside, the house felt different than it ever had before. It did not just feel quiet, it finally felt like home.